Hi friends, I just wanted to take a moment to talk to you about one of the chapters in my book, Leading as Sons and Daughters, which I entitled Giving Courage with Your Words. And I think one of the biggest privileges we have as leaders is to give courage to people with the words that we speak to them. When we encourage people, we're literally giving them courage. When we speak truth to people, we're literally putting courage in them to be all that God's called them to be. And the Bible talks about the fact that our words are powerful. We've been made in the image and likeness of God, and so our words have power. And Proverbs 18 verse 21 tells us that life and death is in the power of the tongue. So literally our words are powerful either to bring death to people or to bring life. And when we speak words of truth and encouragement, we can literally put strength in people to step into everything God's got for them. I remember experiencing this firsthand. I remember preaching on a Sunday morning one time at King's Arms, and I'd prepared the message. I was preaching out of Daniel. I'd prepared the message. I felt like God had really spoken to me about what to share. But when I woke up in the morning on that particular Sunday, I felt masses of fear and anxiety about what I'd prepared. And I went to church, and I remember being in the prayer meeting before the service started and just feeling all this anxiety. And then Phil Wilthew, who's a leader at the King's Arms, came over to me and started to pray for me, and he began to speak truth to me and call stuff out of me. And at the end of his time of praying, he put his hand on my shoulder and he looked me in the eye and he said, "Wendy, go for it this morning. We're right behind you. Don't hold back." And I remember as he spoke those words of encouragement to me and as he spoke truth to me, literally, he put courage into me, and I preached that morning from a place of courage and confidence, and the fear that I had felt had gone because of the courage that Phil had put into me with his words. And we see the power of encouragement even in Scripture. Esther, the story of Esther, one of my favourite stories. She had this opportunity to rescue an entire nation, but was grappling with fear because if she approached the king uninvited, she could have been put to death. And yet her uncle Mordecai spoke words of truth to her at just the right time. And he said to her, "Who knows, maybe you were born for such a time as this, Esther." And his words of encouragement put courage into her to approach the king. And as a result, she saved an entire nation. Also, the story of Jonathan and his armor bearer, another one of my favorites. Jonathan has this idea as to how he could defeat the Philistines. And it's a crazy idea. He says to his armor bearer, let's show ourselves to the enemy. And if they say, "Come up here," we'll know that God's given them into our hands. And the armor bearer was like, "Yeah, go for it, Jonathan. I'm right behind you. Do whatever is in your heart. I will follow you." And the armor bearer, by doing that, put courage into Jonathan to see this plan through. And as a result, they did indeed defeat the Philistines. And it's just incredible. It's incredible the power that our words can give to people, the courage that our words can literally put into people. I think that's why the prophetic is so powerful and why the enemy comes against the prophetic so often. The foundation for the prophetic is encouragement. It's about putting courage into people. I can't tell you the number of times I've taught on the prophetic and I've said to people, put your hand up if you've ever not brought a prophetic word because you've thought that what you might be hearing from God is actually you and you're making it up. And honestly, 90% of the room stick their hand up. And I'm like, guys, look at the scheme of the enemy here. He wants to silence the prophetic because he knows that when we prophesy, it literally puts courage into people. And so he wants us to think you're just making this up. Why? So that we don't share it. Let me just encourage you as an aside, if you ever think it's just been making it up when it comes to the prophetic, bring the prophetic word and see whether it is or not. That's the only way you're going to learn. It's the only way you're going to grow. And so we have a huge privilege as leaders to use our words to put courage into the people around us. And you just never know what will happen. All of us are called to have a significant influence on the earth. You just never know. As you use your words to encourage the people around you, it will put strength into them to step into all God's called them to, and will enable them to have the influence He's called them to have. You know, the truth is we don't need more training to know how to do the stuff God's called us to. What we need is more courage. I think the main thing that holds us back from really going after what God's called us to is fear. And as leaders, we have the privilege of speaking words into people that literally puts courage into them so they can say yes to Jesus and do all that He's called them to. So I just want to encourage you, I want to provoke you, look around you, who has God put in your sphere of influence to encourage, and let's use our words to put courage into the people around us, to inspire them, to speak truth to them, and let's see what Jesus will do.